Hi everyone, welcome to the statistic class. Today we are going to start with the introduction to statistics. We are going to know a lot of concepts that are important to know before we start to develop the corresponding topics to statistics. First of all, we are going to start to talk about the statistic. What is a statistic? Well, statistic is a science. That science is based in numbers or in data. This is a science, but it's not like other science that sometimes are exact science like mathematics. Why not? Because statistics is based in forecast or in informations. Sometimes, for example, when you listen to the morning forecast on the TV show, you can sometimes hear that you are going to have a storm on night. But at night, it results that you don't have any drop of water. So what happened? The weather forecast guys were wrong about the forecast. But this is not true. So the forecast is a prediction, there's something that maybe is going to happen and maybe is not going to happen. Everything is based in percentage, in reliability. In that case, the statistic is working on, and the guys of the Weather Channel is going to tell you if it is going to rain or not according with the probability that they calculate through the statistics. So it means that it could happen or not. But if they have a lot of percentage of probability that is going to happen, it's going to tell you that it's going to happen. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. So I know that this is kind of confused, but this is the statistic process. So statistic is a science. It's not a science like a mathematics, like I told you. It's not an exact science. But it's a science that is going to help you to take decisions. Okay, so this is the statistics. So right now let's talk about what is the raw material that the statistic use. The statistic works with data. What kind of data? Well, we have a lot of kinds of data. For one way, we are going to work, for example, with populations. What is a population? Population is a total of elements that you have of something. For example, the most of people thinks that population is just people, but not. In statistics, the population, it could be persons, or it could be something like numbers, or it could be something like things, for example, cars. Okay, population is the total elements that you have. For example, you want to talk about you want to make analysis of the populations of cars in your city. The population is all the cars that have in your city that exist. Okay, if you want to talk about all the students in your school, the population is going to include all the students in your school. But sometimes, for example, if you want to make an analysis only of your classroom, the population is going to be all the students of your classroom. Okay, so the population is the total of elements that you are going to analyze, or you are going to work with. And exist two kinds of populations. First of all, we have the finite population. What is a finite population? It's a population that you can count, and you know exactly the number of elements that have that population. For example, if you want to talk about all the students in your school, this is a finite population because you know exactly how many students exist in your school. But for example, if you want to talk about the stars in the universe, this is going to be an infinite population because you only can estimate the numbers of stars in the universe, and it's impossible to know the numbers of stars in the universe. So in that case, it's going to be infinite. All right, so that's why we're going to have two kinds of population, finite or infinite. Let's write over here finite and infinite. Okay, two kinds of population. So for a while think about the finite or infinite populations that you consider that could be. For example, finite. What do you think about? Finite could be the numbers of people in your family. This is finite. Infinite could be the numbers of people in your city, because it's impossible to know how many people are in the city, because you know every time somebody is dying or born. So in that case, it's an infinite population. All right. Well, if you don't want to work with population and then you want to work only with just a part of population, in that case we are going to work with samples. What is a sample? Sample is a part of population. For example, if you want to know about something about your school, and like in the other example I told you, we are going to analyze of the people in your school. Sometimes if the number is very high number, maybe 1,000 students in the school, is going to be something difficult. So in that case, I'm just going to choose just one part of the population, and that part is going to be called sample. For example, if I have 1,000 students in the school and I want to know some characteristic generic in all the students, I'm not going to interview to the 1,000 people in the school. I'm just going to make a interview just a sample. Maybe I'm going to choose 100. Okay, and that 100 is going to represent the population. The sample is something very important, because the sample should be something enough to represent the population. All right, so we are going to talk about later about the sample because it's a very important topic. Okay, well, this is the first part about the data, but the other part that I want to talk about is the kind of data. In that case, we can talk about two different things of data. If we are going to work with data represented by numbers, I'm going to talk about quantitative data. Okay, quantitative data, it's represented by numbers. For example, the age could be the grades on the school, the height of the people, the size of the clothes, of the shoes, etc. So this is, if you want to talk about numbers, is quantitative. In other case, it's going to be qualitative. What is that? Well, in that case, I'm not going to talk about numbers. I'm going to talk about characteristics. For example, colors, textures, brands, etc. In that case, I'm going to talk about qualitative. Okay, so remember, data, it's population, and the sample is part of population. Population could be finite or infinite, and data could be numbers in quantitative way, or it could be characteristics in qualitative way. So this is the raw material of the statistic. But the statistics is divided into big sections. Okay, let's talk about that. The first one is going to be the descriptive statistic, and the other part is going to be the inferential statistic. What is the difference? Okay, let's talk about first of all the descriptive statistic. This one is going to work with data that really exist. For example, if a census exists in your country, you are going to know how many men exist on the country and percentage, how many women, how many people is married, how many people is working, how many people is old, how many people is young, etc. So everything is based in real data, in data that right now exists, that's something that is happening right now, and then you are going to make an interpretation about that information. So that's why it's called descriptive, because it's going to describe the information that you are working with. In other hand, we have the inferential statistic. The inferential statistic is going to make a predictions. Okay, in that part is where we are going to work with other important topic into the statistic. We are going to work with the probability. And the probability is going to be a prediction, or is going to be a forecast. Okay, but this one is going to be based in descriptive statistic information that you have. I mean, if you don't have information gotten from the descriptive statistic, you cannot apply the probability, because everything here in inferential statistic is based in descriptive statistic. Okay, what I'm going to use in descriptive statistic, I mean like in mathematic tool. Okay, here we are going to use two things in general. The first one is going to be the central tendency measures. Okay, what is the central tendency measures? Exist three central tendency measures that we're going to talk about later. Maybe you know about that. That is going to be the mean, the median, and the mode. Okay, in other way, we're going to have the dispersion measures. In that case, we are going to work in specific with two. One is the variance, and the other is going to be the standard deviation. Okay, these measures are going to be the information to make an interpretation through the descriptive statistic. Okay, here in inferential statistic, through the probability, we are going to work in two different ways. One is going to be in a probability distributions, and the other one is going to be on hypothesis test. Okay, remember, this part is going to be to make an interpretation about the information that you already got. Alright? And this part is, with this information that you have, you are going to make a prediction, okay, of something that right now is not happening. Okay, those are the two principal section or classification of the statistic. Okay, and this is the introduction to statistic. Remember, statistic work with data. Data could be represented by population. That could be infinite or infinite. Data could be represented instead population, a sample. It depends on population, the population size. And data even could be quantitative if we're talking about numbers, or qualitative if we're talking about the characteristics. If you want to make an analysis of the real information that you have right now, you are going to use descriptive statistic through these indicators: mean, median, mode, variance, or standard deviation. Okay, and if you want to make a prediction about something that is not happening right now, you are going to measure the probability to the probability distribution or hypothesis test in inferential statistics. And this is all the content that we're going to see in this class.